Welcome back, everybody, to the European Masters, and thank you to Mad Magical and Trouble for taking us through the first three games of the day. My name is Scoundrel, and I will be taking you through the next three games with Celtic Tiger. Mate, it's been a while since we've cast together, since the last European Masters, really. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's good. Staying at home, like everyone, I guess. But, you know, looking forward to now some more games, specifically the Wizards putting on something of a show for us.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this, actually. And Celtic, just to let you know, I had to step up my fashion game once I knew I was casting with you, because you're always so wonderfully fashionable, and I couldn't just rock up in a t-shirt on my usual broadcast, so I had to go fish out the long-forgotten blazers, which I haven't used in about 5 months. so
yeah, I mean, I don't know what would have given you that idea at all, but, you know, it's fine.
Right, let's talk about this matchup then, because Energypot Wizards, they are in a situation where it is potentially possible to qualify. eSuba, they cannot. I think eSuba are completely locked out of qualification from this point forward. So they are purely playing for pride from this point onwards. The Hit Point Masters team, obviously just trying to get at least one win on the board, especially with the kind of talent that they've got on their roster. Random and Jejky are both incredibly good players, so you know it would feel bad for them to go out of this tournament at 0-6. But Energypot Wizards, if they get this win, Celtic, they could technically be in a position where they could fight for second place. So I'm very much looking forward to this game. Energypot Wizards have been quite a story. The Balkan League always gives us stories, and Energypot Wizards are kind of following in those footsteps of ClickTech.
Yeah, but I think there's also a level of Energypot Wizards seem to match their opponents, considering that in the last game versus eSuba, it was incredibly close, with Wizards eventually just managing to eke it out in a final few team fights. So potentially this is, if you're as an eSuba, if you're a Czech fan, the one game where you can really bring it back.
Yeah, and again, a win on the board would feel nice. You know, at the end of this group, like, no one wants to go out 0-6. One win is always preferable. And let's get into this champion select, because Renekton prioritized here for eSuba. They're going to follow up with the Lee Sin and the Syndra. Lots of priority mid lane, giving a lot of, I think, direction to Jejky to do what he wants. Then we're going to compare that up to the first rotation from Energypot Wizards, a jungler that has made a massive comeback in the European Masters. We've seen a lot of Graves, and Spooky's going to be piloting that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, especially with the way Wizards play. They play for a little later on. They're happy to scale up a bit and then go for the big team fights. Graves will kind of farm up alongside everything else and also somewhat try to avoid the aggression of Lee Sin.
Well, we have a bot lane locked in. Thresh, Miss Fortune prioritized here. I imagine we're either going to be seeing some limiting AD carry bans from Energypot Wizards or limiting support bans coming through, because obviously the bot lane for eSuba is still well up in the air. I don't want to say that entirely, because we know that Syndra can be flexed, but there is likely still a bot lane to be seen here from eSuba. And yes, the Nautilus ban starting to come out, limiting those other kind of hook-based champions, ones that can do okay into Thresh.
I also think the Tahm Kench might be banned here, considering it's one of Rufus's most played and something that consistently has been taken against Thresh to somewhat counter the ability to engage. Other than that, it might be something like Morgana that sometimes gets brought in.
Yeah, well, we just saw Morgana in the previous game. You're right, Tahm Kench, it is something that Rufus plays a lot of, and that makes a lot of sense. And we just saw Promiscure Morgana, really excellent play on that champion as well. His Black Shields were really game-defining, I think, and they had that win over Fnatic, which sets them up really nicely in this group. And it's going to be Maokai and Aatrox, so trying to give Robocop a matchup that he feels comfortable in, especially with the set ban as well on that Renekton.
Yeah, I think you've Ornn Maokai taken away, so your standard tanks are also gone. Klowny's going to have to dig deep here and find something that stands out. Maybe, considering that some of the other picks he's gone for in the past, like the Gangplank, which isn't amazing into the Renekton, but does okay. Yes, has to lean back and go right for something just standard, tanky, and give Lukezy as much freedom as possible.
Well, they've prioritized Lukezy in this draft, and I think that is something that is worth highlighting. Lukezy, for me, has been the standout player for Energypot Wizards across their performance in the group stages. I think VZZ came into this as everyone kind of highlighting him. He was the MVP of the Esports Balkan League. He had an excellent performance across the split, but actually I genuinely have seen so much impressive play from Lukezy, and I'm really, really proud of that, because he's someone that I've actually known for a long time. So I'm excited to see Lukezy. They've given him priority in this draft here. We'll see if he can do good work versus eSuba, who have locked in the Aphelios and the Braum to end things up.
I actually quite like the Braum into the Miss Fortune. You can kind of cancel out some of that ult play and matches up well with the Aphelios. I think the final pick here is what I'm most interested in. You now know you're going into the Syndra, but also you have had your kind of signature Cassiopeia taken away. Where do you go for? Because in previous games, you've seen him go for the Pantheon and Ziggs. Completely takes it away, though. Goes for something very different with, I believe, the mid lane Cho'Gath. I presume this is the Glacial Augment build. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of the mid lane Cho'Gath into certain matchups. This will be definitely a surprise. Not a lot of people will have kind of been used to this, but yeah, Lukezy running with the mid lane Cho'Gath. This is very interesting. Okay, this is a hard one for you to have to break down before we get into game, but I'll give you the floor. What are we looking at in terms of win conditions for both of these teams?
I'm looking at eSuba. I see a lot of pick potential. You're looking at Renekton, Lee Sin, Syndra, a lot of single target burst. That's what you're looking for, especially from the early game, aggressive play. On the other side, they're very happy to team fight. And Glacial Augment Cho'Gath, a pick I personally really like because it's so tanky that it's hard to engage on, but also because of Glacial Augment, you can decide when your team wants to go and start fights yourself.
I feel like until we get to the late game, there is so much in terms of beefy frontline here for Wizards. Like even AP Cho'Gath, if you're playing the more aggressive variant of that mid lane Cho'Gath, is still incredibly beefy just due to the natural health that he gets from his kit. So yeah, I'm very much excited to see how this plays out. It does feel like it is very teamfight orientated. So if you get into a full-on 5v5, I wouldn't bet against Energypot Wizards.
See, it's funny because you're saying it's a very weird pick. It's something I've actually played a lot of myself, so something I'm really comfortable looking at here is going to follow up the queue.
Oh, that was a lovely little hook. They got the initial bit of vision, and the blind hook across the wall from whiteinn finds that first blood and burns the flash from Dany.
And that's so important as well when you look across the board and you go, okay, what did eSuba want to do? They want to force picks, they want to go aggressive early. Instead, it's them getting picked to start it off, removing that potential to take first blood, and also getting that Graves going as soon as possible. He's going to clear through his jungle so much quicker now, having picked up the Talisman as well.
Well, it does look like eSuba are trying to respond. They have walked into the red side jungle here of Graves. This is something that you can do. Lukezy is sitting around the ward, as is Klowny and Spooky. And that is going to be enough for Robocop and Jejky to back off. That clever bit of a movement there from Lukezy, just to ward away any potential level 1 antics that eSuba tried to respond with.
Yeah, you can see they kind of felt it coming, especially with how aggressive they'd gone in the bot lane. It was a decent response from eSuba to attempt it, but at the end of the day, as you said, Lukezy coming in, covering. Once again, even though we're talking about him as a major carry, still making good small decisions here and there as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, just to set the stakes for this game, Energypot Wizards are not out of qualifying from this group. They still have the potential to qualify. They do need to win every game from here on out, and this is a must-win for them. eSuba, however, they're playing upset. They can essentially determine which ways the group is going to go based on a couple of factors. They cannot qualify anymore. They are purely playing for pride for the Hit Point Masters. But of course, no team wants to leave with a 0-6 record, so it is important for them, especially for the individual players. You know, this will be the last couple of games that the eSuba squad get on a big stage to show what they're capable of. You know, people like Jejky, who have had a lot of talk up about him, a lot of people very hyped about this talent coming in from the jungle. He's got 2 games left now to prove that he is capable of sort of piloting his team to a win from that jungle role.
And I think even from more of a national pride standpoint, you're looking at a team of 5 Czech players. If you're a Czech fan, there's a great chance to kind of showcase some of the talent your region holds, considering that this is also a team that did extremely well domestically. And so this is kind of the best of some of these Czech players.
Yeah, and actually it's not often you get to see a team with 5 players of same nationality, you know, coming into this level of play. So it is a really important a situation for the Czech players in general. Now you can see both junglers on wards either side here. Spooky will clear this one out and will actually just ward Jejky away. He'll go back to his own side jungle. No mid lane shenanigans happening here, although Jejky's going to try and keep eyes on that River Scuttler. And Lukezy actually just coming down for support, so the ward comes through, and that's going to allow Spooky now to try and take that without much contest.
That's good as well, because considering one of the big issues with Cho'Gath mid is that you're very gankable, you're fairly immobile, you don't have a whole lot of ways to respond. Aside from having a lot of health, you don't actually have much protection in the mid lane.
No, and Jejky Just going to walk across, going for the top side scuttler here. They're going to trade scuttler for scuttler, end of the day. That's kind of what you expect. With most junglers, it's very rare that you're able to sweep both of them, and Jejky's going to head towards that top side. Not many lanes looking particularly gankable for Jejky right now. Top lane pushed in, klowny is under his turret. Lukezy's playing fairly safe for the most part, although you can now see whiteinn and Spooky actually heading round. Spooky's giving Lukezy a way to push that lane up, and then giving him an out with the lantern as well. So just allowing Lukezy to get a bit of extra safety on that back.
I like this from Wizards, though. You see, you were saying that a lot of these lanes don't seem gankable. This is by design. They're trying to shut out Jejky, avoiding some of the big carry potential that this jungler has.
And I like that placement from Spooky. He jumped across the wall. He tried to navigate his way through vision to get towards that bot lane for a potential gank. And even if he doesn't get that bot lane, he has the ability to just clear out a Krug camp. So I think he's trading Krug for Krug at the end of the day. But, you know, he still managed to get something from that little invade. It wasn't like he came home dry after he went for that bot lane gank.
See, now with dragon spawning, I want to see how the teams respond. This might be a good flashpoint for eSuba. See if they can get some of their big burst into this fight as Syndra tries to approach probably that level 6 mark where you can maybe pick someone off. Pre-ultimate, it will be a little strange fight on both sides, but I think specifically Spooky on the Graves will be quite happy.
Yeah, but also you've got to remember that is still a rough lane. Although Cho'Gath has got so much sustain built into his kit, it is still a moderately rough lane to him to play into. He's not exactly hugely tanky. He hasn't built any early resistances, so I think he's still just as susceptible to going down as anybody else versus a Syndra who is level 6. And what I'm liking here is that mid lane prio, that bot lane prio that has been generated by eSuba is allowing Jejky to go straight for the dragon, and this will be uncontested. So they'll get our first dragon purely through lane priority.
That's a good move, as you were saying. Cho'Gath can't play that far up into the wave, not without being under immense amount of pressure. So backs up and hands that over, because we were saying this is a point where maybe they could try kick something off. Wizards don't go for it, so solid early pickup here with no real response from Wizards yet.
Are we expecting to see any early rotations now that that dragon's gone down so quickly? You know, would you expect to see eSuba rotate up top? Or would you just kind of leave it as it is for the moment and take it when the opportunity arises?
I think roaming up at the 8-minute mark would make a lot of sense. We talked about a lot of the single target burst. If you pick up anyone along the way, that would be pretty big for you, speaking of.
Oh, that's a nice silence. That was a bait and a half. With Spooky waiting in the wings, Lukezy helps get that kill.
Nicely turned around, and the Cho'Gath, I believe, starting to stack up now as well, so good moves across the map for everyone.
Yeah, you just sometimes you forget about the silence, right? Like he jumps in, he's like, this is the perfect opportunity for an ultimate. Silence comes down, and suddenly, very, very difficult for you to actually trade back.
Also, just the flat burst from the Cho'Gath ult as well, on top of the rest of the AP scaling spells, and really surprise a lot of people once you kind of nail them down.
Still, it's been a moderately quiet early game. A small lead, one and a bit thousand, opened up for Energypot Wizards right now, but it hasn't really erupted into anything huge. Those 2 kills just playing into the most part. And like we said, it's been difficult for Jejky to actually get into a lane to have an impact right now because mid lane is pushing, top lane is pushing, bot lane for the most part has been pushing. He'll have to look for a lane gank opportunity or some kind of flank kick because right now it's very difficult for him to find an obvious walk-in gank.
That being said, he doesn't have to get kills to be doing his job as the Lee Sin. He can maintain the objective control they've had thus far. You can see that they're doing that rotation that we were talking about earlier, moving up straight away as that Rift Herald is going to be spawning. You'll have the bot lane there, you'll have everyone ready to go and try snowball by getting the Herald, pushing down a tower.
Energypot Wizards have responded at exactly the same time, though. They are going to be ever so slightly behind the jump, but this was the perfect 8-minute rotation that you talked about, Celtic. But, like we said, Wizards are on top of it. They know the game. Everybody knows the game. If you're backing at about 7 minutes, you're very much assuming that the bot lane is going to rotate top with that Rift Herald spawning. So, Wizards respond immediately, and they are going to... essentially contest for that objective this time round, especially now that Cho'Gath has got a bit of weight behind him, and we can see Spooky has already finished up that warrior enchant.
Yeah, and of course that's the other strength of Cho'Gath is you also have a second smite if you can have a big fight kicking off around these objectives. It's going to be the start, though.
Oh, yes, and whiteinn. He's going to pull in Graves. That's a nice little hook, and they're going to go straight onto Dany, forcing out the flash. Teleport is there. This is a rally from eSuba, but klowny and Lukezy turn up at the same time, and they will blow up Robocop. Jejky he just literally he puts his teammate in the bin, and then they both die. That is going to be the Rift Herald taken by Wizards. Proactive play from a team that is looking to qualify.
And you can see that the double TP, I think, is what threw them here. They were expecting the single member arriving in. They're like, okay, I think we can take this fight otherwise. The other issue is that a lot of these early skill shots didn't land. Jejky jumps in and misses the Q, so can't follow up. But here comes the double TP that surprises them. And suddenly they're all completely scattered. And this is just unfortunate. We can watch it again. Oh, dear.
Oh, that made me laugh, Jejky. He was like, I'm out, boys, and then said, oh no, I've just killed my support. Well, oh, goodness me.
If it helps, they likely had the flank off, likely weren't going very far, but as it was, just an unfortunate set of plays which sets up Wizards to continue their dominance over this portion of the game.
Yep, and they are looking good right now. 2,500 gold. They picked up the Rift Herald, which they rotated to contest at the right time. That's going to allow them to find some plates or even a tower in the right opportunity. One thing that they will have to make use of, though, is the fact that they're going to have to start pushing some lanes. If they want to make use of that Rift Herald, they're going to want to find an opportunity to use it when the lane has already got a wave built up towards the enemy turret. So if they're still getting pushed in just because of the matchups, then obviously they may find it difficult to use it proactively. I mean, even in that mid lane, doesn't matter that you're a Cho'Gath, that's got 2 kills. I mean, I suppose he's got the Hextech GLP now, so it makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, they need to look for an opportunity with the wave pushed, with a gank or something like that to make use of that Rift Herald.
I do think with the GLP, though, you can potentially just force an engage onto the Syndra through that kill, then push the wave. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if that's the attempt from Wizards. Try to get a kill instead of just hard pushing otherwise, but because right now you can see that eSuba are waiting for that and seeing if they can.
To be honest, even in the bot lane, I guess the mini item spikes that have been picked up, like the BF sword advantage right now, it's just actually forcing eSuba to play more carefully. Another pull comes in. There is the box forcing out the oh, what? That's the ultimate coming through. I thought he was gone. I was about to stop talking, but it looks like he does take a lot of damage here, and this might be the opportunity to pop that Rift Herald. It is lots of damage coming through. Rufus taken very, very low. Dany also in the same boat and will go down to VZZ. Lukezy has rotated down, and I don't know if the teleport from random will be enough, but it is enough to stop that engage.
It at least stops the Rift Herald push as well, because you're able to get the Syndra in there to clear it out. So still a worthwhile TP, but overall, Wizards aren't going to be unhappy about the set of plays. They get a kill, and now they're pushing for this dragon. They have the Cho'Gath ultimate as well to secure.
I'm not sure that you want this, Jejky. Just let it go. It's the second dragon. You don't need it, and they do walk away. There's no way that eSuba feel confident contesting that.
You have to remember as well, Cho'Gath ultimate at this stage of the game still does 1,000+ damage to objectives, whereas Smite, of course, will take some time to scale to even close to that amount.
Agree. Lukezy now just going to immediately use the Hextech GLP to get out, and I don't think the Sonic Wave, he uses his Q on, just ruptures himself just in case, but yeah, no way that Jejky's going to follow up on that under turret.
Okay, so still very happy if you're a fan of the Balkans here, who traditionally have been particularly strong in those team fights, and the last time we saw them come up against eSuba did much better early, started trying to snowball through Jejky, specifically Jejky's Lee Sin as well. Now with that shut down, and with everyone on Wizards doing so well, it should be Wizards' game here.
I mean, I think with a 3k gold advantage, you'd say they're in a commanding position. I don't want to call the game right now.
Yeah. yeah. My point is more so based on the previous game, based on the fact that they were able to counter when Jejky was already in a carry position. It is a very good spot for them.
I didn't want to call the game at a 3k gold advantage, but it is definitely looking good for Energypot Wizards. Yes. And actually, this really feeds into a team that has impressed me, massively. I think Energypot Wizards have been... they come from a region that has classically, I would say, in a way, overperformed compared to expectations in the European Masters. Even from the very first European Masters, the Balkans has been incredible in terms of upsets, potentially even qualification out of groups. They've always managed to produce either A, really good individual talent, or teams that have been surprising in terms of what they can achieve in the European Masters. And right now, Energypot Wizards are still in a position to qualify versus two incredibly strong teams in this tournament.
Yeah, I think last time we saw them doing particularly well was 2018 summer when we saw Aces ROG Elite manage to make it to the top 4 of European Masters, but...
Yeah, that was a little side.
Yep.
That was a little sidestep. Unfortunately, the Braum ultimate is a little bit slow, and Spooky's reactions are just a bit quicker than that.
Yep, just a little reaction test there. No one's too worried, but we see now, there goes the slow, but no engages following up here. We still have a long time till Dragon, so no need to really heavily force anything.
Top lane, Robocop trying to find that one-on-one versus klowny. Klowny just, you know, able to sustain up with that shield, keep himself safe, but Robocop just trying to find any edge that he can. It's not exactly a good matchup for the Poppy, but klowny has just been surviving his very best. Random is going to move over, but already VZZ heading up towards that top lane, and I think Random thinks it might not be worth it to go for a blind jump over the wall there.
Yeah, you can see Herald is actually going to spawn ahead of Dragon, so they're making sure their bot lane are in position as soon as possible to try secure that.
And remember, there's just one dragon apiece, so obviously that soul is going to be delayed by another dragon spawn timer. That was a good response from Wizards, obviously having lost the first one. They are putting priority on the Rift Herald here over the dragon, so even though it's 1 minute 44, I guess their ideal scenario is that they take this Rift Herald upon spawn, or take a fight that would therefore secure it for them, and then immediately rotate to dragon if they can. But they obviously have put priority on the top side of the map here to make sure that Rift Herald is their absolute key. Oh, dive in here. VZZ, can he get... He can't get the Lantern, so unfortunately he's not going to be able to escape here. 2 teleports do come through again, but that is the kill onto the AD carry, which is important.
That is all 3 ultimates thrown down from eSuba, though, so if Wizards can find another fight, they may actually still be able to take it, considering that they are about 5k in the lead even after that kill.
I actually think Lukezy is still very, very scary, so... You know, nonetheless, he will have to, you know, you're going to have to be careful if you're trying to go for this Rift Herald straight up, because Lukezy is still in a good spot right now. He's got a lot of control, the Hextech GOP on a short cooldown, so he's able to be disruptive, and already VZZ has respawned. So they didn't actually manage to convert that pick into anything, and they lost some key ultimates for this fight.
The one thing, though, is at least they're trying to make some plays, because when you're 5k down this early in the game, it's so hard to find those openings. Sometimes you do just have to stack everything into these 1 picks to get some gold back towards you. So it's still some signs of life from eSuba in a very difficult position.
But they've just been bleeding gold, even when the fights haven't been going, or even taking place. They've just been bleeding gold on the map. I mean, that's now extended out to a 5,000 gold lead, when we were just talking about 5 minutes ago it being 3,000. So they're just losing gold on the map, and I think it's primarily coming through CS differential in the mid, jungle, and bot. Right now, you know, there's a 30 CS advantage for the Miss Fortune, 22 for Lukezy, and also they're just taking a load of standing gold on the map with these turrets. It just doesn't feel like eSuba are finding any way to get back in, and that pick didn't actually result in anything. It was just 3 ultimates used for a kill.
Not inclined to disagree, but you got to give them something, because right now they are, as you said, completely bleeding out. They may pick themselves up at least a 2nd dragon, which, as you said, should delay it further if Wizards are going to maintain their control over the game otherwise, but actually is going down a little slower than they might like.
They're not doing it quick enough right now, and Jejky immediately kicks out. He does smite down, and klowny on the outside has to knock away 2 members of eSuba. The blind hook this time does not land, and they will escape with that 2nd dragon.
This is the knockup, nicely dodged by Random to escape that play, but either way, as you said, it's complete map dominance over to Wizards, aside from the dragons that you've managed eSuba to just slightly sneak away during all these plays.
Ooh, klowny, he finds a stray Lee Sin and just stops that back from happening. No commit to the engage, but just trying to be a nuisance.
Looking back now, it's interesting to see how eSuba play at this stage of the game, considering they're still looking for those picks. They still want to burst someone out. They still have that potential even from behind, but it's just so hard to find a good target for it, considering you have the Thresh there to disengage a lot of the plays. You have such tanky members as the Cho'Gath, the Poppy. Even the Graves gets a lot of armor inbuilt in his kit due to grit. It's been a difficult game for them, and honestly nicely countered from Wizards, who somewhat struggled against them in their previous bout.
Yeah, this has been much more commanding, much more dominant from Wizards, and I think, you know, they're looking like a team that's confident. Remember, if they win this and then Fnatic and then they match up against Fnatic, the winner basically goes through. So if they win this, and then they win against Fnatic, they have qualified in second spot. And this is actually pretty huge for them. So, I'm really excited to see this team, and I think they've got a lot of incredible talent, especially talent that we might not have seen a huge amount of on the international stage. And I think this is awesome to see more incredible players from a region that has consistently produced performances at this level of the tournament continue to do so time and time again.
See now if Lukezy can find the play. Just gonna go for a little poke. Okay, I think the big thing for me, looking at the strength of Wizards as a whole, though, is that this will, if they can actually close this out, if they can maintain control, this will be their first clean game, realistically. Because even in their previous wins, a lot of it was off kind of scrappy team fights that they managed to find after falling behind. The objectives were kind of completely being swapped around regardless. If they can actually get good vision control, this will be the first time I really think Wizards will have impressed me in that regard. Kind of more methodical approach to the game as opposed to a purely decision-making within fights kind of calls.
Yeah, and I think that's something that shows maturity as a team, right? You know, when it's not just all about the clown fiesta kills or just kind of playing I guess being more mechanically gifted than your opponents. Like, it has been smart macro decisions from Energypot Wizards that have been kind of what has impressed me the most about this team and has allowed them to perform well against lots of the teams in this group. So I think whoever, the coaching or whatever's happening with Energypot Wizards, they've got a very mature style to their play, and they are going to utilize the fact that they know a lot of members on the bot side of the map for eSuba. They're going straight for this Baron with that secure potential of the Cho'Gath, but it is, I think, pretty sure that eSuba are aware of this, so they're just going to back off.
They're just going to back off. Funny you mentioned the coaching as well. Their head coach is Faxi, a player we have seen do well in EU Masters of old. So maybe some of that energy transferring across into them.
Yeah, but it's important. You can see that they're playing with kind of a very mature style. They are not taking these crazy fights. They're not contesting objectives when the objective doesn't mean anything. Like, one of the biggest things that we saw throughout the UKLC, for instance, was teams would randomly int it for Second Dragon when Second Dragon didn't mean anything. Like, it's a very tiny stat bonus. Like, Third Dragon I can understand. Fourth Dragon, obviously, if the soul is on the cards, but Second Dragon means like next to nothing. So yeah, take it if you can get it for free, or if if you're confident that you can win the fight. But there's no desperation about Second Dragon, and I just think Wizards have been playing very well in that respect. They're not giving away anything. They're not making needless mistakes. They're not allowing eSuba back into the game unnecessarily. Like, they didn't commit to that Baron fight. They just said, okay, fine, they know, let's back off right now, instead of trying to go for it and burst it down. Yeah, it's just a nice style of play to look at.
Yeah, it is interesting because they can actually let themselves some time to scale if they need it as well. Plus, they have someone who's so good at securing those objectives in the Cho'Gath, so it'll be nice to see if they can follow up on this.
We go straight in, lots of damage onto Rufus. Doesn't matter if you've got that Unbreakable up if you're already on 2 HP. And now Lukezy just trying to split the fight, but that will be it. They'll take Rufus and back off.
Nice clean pick for them. They'll be pretty happy with that. And now it's back down to those side lanes, kind of keep people split across. Actually, give me the TP up top lane. You want this Cho'Gath to chase.
Yeah, Lukezy trying to go in here, does force Random to sidestep, but the rest of the team is following up. I don't know if you win these, Random. I really don't. Lukezy is going... What? I mean, okay, the box to stop him going. Random will eventually go down here, and that'll be another pick off for Lukezy. 3-0-1 on this Cho'Gath.
Interestingly, actually ulted a minion there, I believe, so won't have it up for this Baron, but still, it's going to be another dragon that eSuba are trying to secure.
Spooky and klowny themselves trying to contest this dragon, and actually have bought a bit of time to allow the rest of Wizards to move down. I think Jejky's going to try and go and back out once more. He does find the smite, and immediately the engage has started. They're trying to back off. Spooky and VZZ on the backline as Lukezy taken super low. This is a fight that eSuba can actually win, and suddenly the shutdown is there for Jejky. And Dany still continuing to pressure whiteinn. That maybe was a bit more than they were capable of, and eSuba capitalize.
Now, this is the issue with having given up so many dragons, though. At that point, you want to contest the third dragon, you don't want to be handing it over for free, you'd already committed a lot to the top lane, including what was probably an unnecessary TP to cut off that Syndra. From there, eSuba, you've said so many members top side that they can go for the dragon. By the time you try to force the issue, you've lost huge amounts in the health bars, and it means they could turn it around into a solid fight.
I like the idea from eSuba right there, by the way. They were immediately trying to capitalize on a fight that went in their favor, but the TP from klowny, they were too low, and I think it was too slow, and they just kind of got spooked and decided to back out. This is the fight again, though, Celtic.
Again, it was a good contest with klowny and Spooky. The issue is, by the time you came in, you were already so low, and the rest of your team's only arriving as your top laner's gone down. So yes, it's 4v4, but you're in a much more commanding position to start it off, and your AD carry hasn't been touched while they're under a huge amount of pressure.
Yeah, and then Jejky just, like, forces Spooky out. Lukezy being so low just can't be that frontline tank. I think actually losing klowny super early on is very detrimental for Wizards here, because klowny just buys so much space and time. You know, without klowny, you don't actually have that opportunity to walk up for free, and Wizards just kind of felt it in that fight. But that was, I got to give credit to eSuba. When you're down and out, taking a fight like that, especially when you feel like you're behind in item spikes, it takes a lot of gusto, and they just went for it. And you know, they were rewarded, and now they're on Dragon's Soul as well. So you know, the next dragon, if they get that is game changing for them potentially.
This is another contest coming in from eSuba, but they don't have all their members there. Robocop has the TP. He wants it.
Yeah. He's going to teleport straight into the pit. That's going to force Wizards back here. Lukezy just going to zone away with that rupture, and I don't think eSuba want the fight. They just wanted to stop the Baron, and that's okay. They're happy with that.
The waves are in relative control for them, but you can see the call from Wizards. Okay, if they're going to commit back downwards, we're going to go ahead into the top lane, try hard push that, see what we can find, and turning into a weird tower race here.
Yeah, a little bit of a kind of a base race right now. Here's going to come the ultimate from klowny. He'll just knock away a single member, and that's not enough to actually stop this happening. Actually, the race is currently being won by Wizards, though, and that's going to force eSuba back. They took the gamble, and actually, like, Wizards matched them, and they come out on top, taking 2 turrets for 1.
Okay, they're going to be pretty happy with that one. They crack open the inhib towers as well, on top of getting first priority towards this Baron. They're just going to clear the area and maybe look to start it once again, or at least try bait it to try catch out members of eSuba.
So again, the Baron bait starts once more. They know it's going on. Spooky ghosts are out, so they are aware of where Jejky and Dany are, and suddenly that is going to be the movement speed coming in from whiteinn. He's looking for a hook opportunity onto Dany. That is a target that you would love to take down at the start of the fight. Is there a flash available from whiteinn? There is not. They're just trying to take it slow, using the lantern where they can.
Yes,
that's
Dany,
another
though.
slow. It is going to be going down. Surely Lukezy picks up the kill, and that is an AD carry down now for Wizards. Are they going to continue this fight? I think the rest of the eSuba are going to back out.
Missing Aphelios, though, is a big thing. It means Wizards have a much easier time trying to run towards this Baron. Their only major danger at that stage is likely the Lee Sin going for the steal.
They are going to go straight for it once more. Really up to Random and Robocop to provide the majority of the damage in this teamfight situation. And again, they are clustering around that Baron pit. They're waiting for their time to strike. Just playing it slow, playing the edges. And even then, Wizards are just not comfortable committing to this. And they're going to back out.
This is one of the issues we saw with Wizards before, specifically when they were up against Fnatic Rising. Even though they eventually won that game, they were in control of the game for so long, but it took them an age to close out because they were unable to get full control over any objectives. They were unwilling to commit to these fights where they should have had an edge, and it allowed the chance for a team to scale back into it. In the case of that Fnatic game, they had the better late game comp, so it was fine. In this case, I think they also have a slightly better comp late game, but it's a lot closer.
Yeah, I mean, you do have the Aphelios to worry about, of course, and he is a bit of a monster. Again, the spooky ghost coming out once more. Rufus there, just unbreakable to defend his AD carry.
Oh, dear.
You wait for the wall to drop, and you slam down the bullet time. Dany gets wiped off the face of the planet, and that is going to be the dragon now, defending against that dragon soul. Well timed for Wizards.
Okay, they actually managed to avoid that. You're going to pick up, I imagine, another stack for the Cho'Gath. Be interested to see how many stacks he has. He's getting very tanky here. He picked up a lot of neutral objective stacks as well.
Look, Celtic, I can see by how slow his feet are moving. That's a big boy. That's how I assess how many Cho'Gath stacks. Just look at how slow he's moving across the map. That's or at least how slow his feet are moving. That's a big boy. klowny on the side lane here with that Sheen is actually doing good work in taking these turrets, and they should get another 2 turrets for free. Lukezy now acting as a pseudo tank on that front line with the amount of HP he is sitting on. And again, Wizards taking it slow, taking it easy. They do not want to give anything away to eSuba right now.
also looks like he's sitting on an elixir of iron, so that's also increasing that Cho'Gath size. Certainly there seems to be a little bit of a grey tinge coming off him there.
Grey tinge?
Yeah.
So I always just assessed it by if they were running around with a trail behind them, but I mean, maybe I'm going to just look for the grey tinge.
Yeah, the grey tinge. Obviously, that's the clearer part. I don't know what you're talking about. See, there it is. A little bit of a glow to him.
There's the grey tinge, yeah, you're right. Okay, he's just looking for... Look how small his rupture looks compared to his model size now. That always tickles me.
You see, you say you were assessing it by how slow the feet move. I assess it by how often autopathing decides he can't walk basically through the jungle at all.
Oh my goodness.
Just start turning around randomly on the spot. It's great. I'm noting their production just pinged us there with 12 stacks already at 29 minutes.
Oof.
That is a big boy, in fact.
That's a big boy. That is a big Cho'Gath. Oh my. And he's pretty scary as well. He's got the Zhonyas, so in these fights he can kind of get into the front line, and if anyone does put pressure on him, he could buy some time, immediately open up again, and he'll have Rupture ready to go. So that's a good pickup here for Lukezy.
In the meantime, though, it's still back and forth. eSuba are not giving an inch. They're not allowing Wizards to use their lead effectively. Yet to give over a Baron, and you can see that they're terrified of Jejky potentially getting a steal.
Yeah, I think they don't want to take any risks in this Baron situation. It's still, you know, even though they're winning fights, it doesn't feel like they are commanding the game. And what I like about what eSuba are doing is it's obviously just the classic way to deal with a Baron where you don't have control. You just push the mid lane wave in. So you just constantly push the mid lane wave in, you force a response from Wizards, and then once you see some Wizards turn up to clear the mid lane, you move into the Baron area, you clear vision, and you put your own wards down. It's basically a game of cat and mouse between that mid lane push on both teams.
Yeah, but it's actually eSuba who are doing a little bit of a better job in the vision game. They've maintained control over the Baron consistently, and every time Wizards have started the Baron, they have not cleared it out properly, so it's allowed eSuba to know, okay, they're starting the Baron, let's start putting down that pressure, etc. What Wizards should be doing is, you can see the amount of pressure they have, especially with the slows on Cho'Gath. We talked about this even back in draft, and how you can decide when those team fights kick off. You should be using that pressure to try clear out that area entirely, right deep into the enemy jungle, and then by the time they're willing to commit to it, it's already too late.
You can see klowny struggling with Robocop in the side lane. This is the problem with facing up against a Renekton who has the Black Cleaver plus the Blade of the Ruined King. Like, it's very difficult to actually split push into that guy as a tank because he has a lot of lifesteal, he shreds your armor, and he's doing percentage health basis physical damage. So it's, even as a Poppy, that is a difficult matchup to constantly have to side lane versus, and it looks like eSuba are relying on side lane pressure and mid lane shoves to try and deny any teamfight situations where they ultimately should, I think at this point, just lose in. So that's what they're trying to do right now. Lots of damage onto Spooky, and again, it just feels like there's very, very limited options for Wizards right now unless they full-on commit to the Baron situation.
Well, that's what they needed to be doing, but honestly, they've had about, I'd say, at least 6 minutes or so where that should have been the case. They should have cleared out the wards more aggressively. They finally have, but their vision isn't very deep, so they don't know eSuba are already on top of them.
Yeah, Jejky's going to use, again, they're so cautious. They don't want to commit to this. The 50-50 is just too much of a deal. The Poppy is going to be looking for a flank opportunity here and immediately tries to force Dany back into the fight. That's a nice knockup though, and the kick comes through onto VZZ, but VZZ is big right now and he blows up random. The bullet time maybe not ideal, but it doesn't matter because Wizards are still winning this fight. No one can touch VZZ on the back line, and in the meantime, the rest of eSuba are run riot. Only Jejky left alive. And I don't think he's going to be able to 1v4 here. It looks like Wizards are more concerned with going for that mid lane inhibitor, whilst klowny is just going 1v1 versus Jejky.
Pick up the health! Pick up the health!
He's actually going to lose it.
It's going to be slow. If the shield comes back up in time and he dodges the Q, he could win this. klowny now running for it. He's going to see if he can get the shield. It doesn't matter.
No, he was looking for the execute with the shield there. He couldn't find it, but they do trade that inhibitor nonetheless. They're going to go immediately over to the dragon, but respawns are happening for eSuba, and Jejky's going to make his way over there straight away. I think VZG should be able to burst this out before eSuba can respond, but the Baron is being pinged.
Yeah, I like this quick response. He even TP'd the Syndra up there just in case. I want to try and rush that as soon as possible. In fact, actually it looks like they're just going to clear out the mid lane of the way. I think they were worried about that being the way Wizards were running. No, okay, this is going to be the call. Just a little bit of delay on it.
They're teleporting it. I guess they're expecting the backs coming out from Wizards, and they don't have much vision control to contend with. You can see Lukezy making his way over there, but it is an Aphelios. He has got a very strong amount of DPS. Lukezy's going to move his way in. Can he get a big rupture in this situation? Spooky going to try and go for the steal. He does not get it as Aphelios secures the Baron for eSuba. This is the first win they've had in a while, but Lukezy is not done. He wants to find this fight, and the rest of Wizards are pushing in. They're being pushed out of their blue side jungle. The hook doesn't land. Is this enough for them to escape? It feels like it is.
And while the gold lead has remained, it has not moved in so long. eSuba are holding on to this game for dear life, but still managing it. A good call for the Baron to trade for that third dragon. This next dragon will be soul point, but you've got 4 minutes where you can now hold on to this game, allow your Aphelios time to scale, potentially set up your Renekton for another split push. And this is what I talked about. I actually think in a team fight, I still prefer Wizards comp later game, but there's still options for eSuba, and there's still a lot of burst. And late game, you only need 1 carry burst out to be able to carry through a full fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3 items Aphelios now. You know, this, given the way the early game went, you never felt like it was going to get to this stage. And now, with Baron, eSuba can actually push these waves in. That side lane split push from Robocop is gonna be better and harder to deal with and require more responses. And that might allow eSuba more time to find a soul or find a way to get back into this game. And like you said, there are late game options for eSuba. It's not like they are completely useless once we get past that 35-40 minute mark.
I need to see now if they can find something. See, Jejky's probably looking to kick Lukezy there, because that's a huge amount of damage, first of all, to send back into the team, but also a good disengage if they continue push forward as they are.
Yeah, actually, I feel confident for eSuba right now. They're looking like they feel like they know what's going on. They know how to try and find a way back in here. And actually, I really don't feel like Wizards have been solid enough. That's a really nice little play from klowny to stop that dash away from Jejky. He will go down here. The shutdown for VZZ is the rest of eSuba at risk right now as Robocop trying to dash away, use the Blade of the Ruin King just to get some movement speed, but now knows that he's going to have to turn this fight. I don't think he's getting anywhere with whiteinn protecting VZZ and klowny. That will be 2 kills. I say that, very low for VZZ, but they will actually end up getting the kill eventually. That will be 2 for nothing in favor of Wizards. Jejky caught out in the jungle.
But there is no objectives up right now, and all their waves are pushed into them. So part of the reason you were feeling confident, I presume, is you could see how heavily they were pushing, how aggressive they were willing to go. Fact is, when you have all the waves pushed into you and there's no neutral objectives up, there's not a whole lot you can do except go back to pushing the waves yourself, which gives them time to respawn, but it's already gotten so late in the game that it's 36 seconds on that Renekton, so Wizards are going to continue to play aggressive here.
Yeah, Spooky going in there. Rufus just too tanky, though. Not able to take him down quickly enough, but they have got a wave to work with on this bottom side of the map, and it's 23 seconds till Robocop comes back up. He's really the only major tank that eSuba have. Although Spooky, I mean, just look at the damage that Aphelios is dealing at this point in time. 3 items. Spooky cannot step up close to that turret. And again, Wizards are thrown back, and eSuba buy yet more time.
Minute and a half till the soul for either team. If there was ever a time for Jejky to step up on the Lee Sin and decide that he's going to steal it or even just secure the objective, now is it.
I mean, I want to reiterate what this game is worth for both of these teams. If Energypot Wizards win, they are still in with a chance of qualification, as far as I'm aware. You might not want to quote me on that. I have been wrong before. I did say that Excel had never gotten out of groups, yet they have gotten out of groups twice. So maybe don't trust everything that comes out of my mouth. But I think if they win this, they are still in with a chance to qualify from this group. And obviously for eSuba, if they win, it is just about not going 0-6 in the group. People like Jejky and Random, you know, they've been talked up quite a lot in terms of individual players with the talent that could potentially be seen in some of the either the bigger, you know, national leagues or in, you know, even the likes of LEC one day. So you know, this is an opportunity for them to show what they've got, and if Jejky can secure Dragon Soul for his team and suddenly put them on a win, given how badly this early game went, what a great testament to a jungler who had a lot of hype up built up around him.
Rufus gets hit though.
Yeah, I think Rufus is just... Oh, he's forced to flash here. That's not going to take him down. The Unbreakable comes out. He'll be kept safe.
Okay, good run forward there. But speaking of that, if you're looking as a minor region player and going, okay, minor region players are unlikely to be picked up, Melita has had that happen. It does happen with these players if they can find plays.
I'm not sure what's going on here, but that's a nice hook onto Random, immediately forced to use the Zhonya's. Is now Spooky being chased down by Jejky. Lots of damage coming out from Dany, but Robocop just isn't there. The crits are massive from VZZ right now, and in comes Robocop. Don't know how much work is going to get done. VZZ on the backline completely untouched, and that is going to be some zoning coming out from Lukezy. Dany will trade one back, but it really just feels like a consolation kill at this point in time as klowny pushes forward. The rest of Wizards are hungry, and they are going to take this push down the mid lane. I think they're going to end.
Now, it wasn't clean. It was far from uncontested, but it looks like finally the Wizards have found out that we're still in the lead. Let's try close this out.
Can Jejky get the soul before the game is over? This is a big race to have. If Jejky he gets it, it's game over. Done for eSuba. Jejky got the soul. There we go. It's going to be a win for Energypot Wizards. They are going to keep their group dreams alive. And they are 3-2 right now, and I believe that is a score tied with Fnatic. So they will have their game at the end of this three games, where I believe they are facing up against Fnatic. The winner will advance out of the group. So that's a big, big win for them. Energypot Wizards continue the Balkan dream of qualifying out of the European Masters group stages. And I am very excited for them because I love seeing teams from this region do well.
Yeah, I mean, even if you go back to the original European Masters where you'd KlickTech, we talked about Asus ROG Elite doing quite well. There's been these singular teams that have found their way to stand out on their own, and that's what Energypot Wizards are looking to do again, because certainly they stand out, but you want that to not just purely be for entertainment reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, after the break, we have got a interview with the mid laner from Energypot Wizards, Lukezy. So I'm very excited about that because I go back a long way with Lukezy. I've known him for a very, very long time. So I'm very excited to talk about him. I think it's his debut EU Masters performance. I can talk to him a little bit about what it's felt like and especially his chances of qualifying out of this group as well. So we will see you after a short break and we'll come back with Lukezy.
Time for a true display of skill.
My axe is ready. Witness true strength.
A gift from me to you. Ooh, ooh.
Another soul lost.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
You've seen our name on the jerseys of amazing teams. Now, we are supporting one more. One that you don't see live on TV. But they are the best team in the world, and they are playing the toughest game. Maybe they're not performing in front of millions, but they are under the pressure of an entire planet. And they don't have fans cheering their names, but they have patients who will forever remember them. And they also need your help to win this game. Stay home like a pro.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the European Masters. I am here with Lukezy from Energypot Wizards. They just won and are now one game away from qualifying out of groups. Lukezy, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi, yeah, I can hear you fine. Mate, do you know what? I've got to have this moment because we go back quite a long way. I am so happy that you're doing well in the European Masters, mate. It really warms my heart after being like, we've known each other, what, no, 4 years maybe, when you were playing in the UK scene. I'm just so happy that you're still playing at a really high competitive level, and I'm really happy that you're doing so well in the European Masters. Is this your first European Masters?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this is my first European Masters that I'm attending. And also, sorry for my scruffy appearance, you know, coronavirus, so no point shaving, yeah.
No, I actually just shaved before the broadcasts, so I know how you feel, mate. It's really good to see. How have you felt the games have been going? Have the nerves got to you, or do you think the team has really played up to the competition?
I think we're just focused on our own gameplay. I don't think we are concerned about other teams, etc. But I might say that we've been very happy that Mouse finally got to beat Fnatic, which means that it's basically one game if we're gonna go to quarterfinals or not, because if we beat Fnatic, we go through. If we don't, we don't, basically. So it all comes down to that game. We could have even lost this game, for example, and we would still have 2-0 against Fnatic if we won against them in the future. Yeah,
that's true. I think I was mistaken in saying that you needed to win it. So yeah, I think you could have beaten Fnatic later anyway, and still found your way into that group stage situation. So you've done really, really well so far. Talk to me a little bit about what the game plan is for your team. You often get prioritized in draft, and you've been having some incredible performances so far. What was it about that game where you thought that Cho'Gath was the right pick for you?
Well, we were thinking about a lot of picks, to be honest, but in a situation like this, you just trust your player to pick the champion that he feels is going to work the best. And in this scenario, I was going through a lot of picks, like 4 or 5 of them. And then I just realized, oh, wait, Cho'Gath is insane here. And my team trusted me to pick. We went with the Cho'Gath, and it paid back perfectly, so...
Absolutely. What was it about Cho'Gath that made him really good into that composition, just in your eyes?
It perfectly sets up our team comp. We don't really have some kind of a form of an engage. We have Thresh hook, poppy flank, etc. But those are not really hard engages, but they're soft engages. And with Twin Shadows and GLP, I can enable them to close up the range, start poking a bit. I have a lot of CC, and we have very easy setup on Syndra and Midland, as you've seen for the first kill on her.
Of course, and you played really well. You've been playing well this whole tournament, mate. You've been really, really good. Finally, I've got one last question. Obviously, you're now playing against Fnatic. I know I'm being. It's just you guys need to know I've known Lukezy a long time, so I'll always be his fan here. But you guys are playing against Fnatic. I'll give you one last question. Do you have anything prepared for them? Do you feel confident that you can take that 2-0?
Well, we'll see what happens. I'm not gonna tell you any of our strats, obviously.
No.
Maybe we don't even have any, but we'll see. Basically, we're just gonna play our own game and make the better team win and proceed to the quarterfinals. It's gonna be, I predict, perhaps it's gonna be a bloodbath because all of our games are a little bit messy, I'm gonna admit. So we're gonna see who's gonna come on top victorious.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. You're doing the Balkans proud as well. You guys are following the footsteps of the teams like KlickTech. You're doing an incredible job. And we will see you later on for that last game of the day versus Fnatic. Cheers, Lukezy. Cheers for joining me. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back with our next game of the night.
Thank you.